Howdy! So this is the final video on GDP, where we're just going to talk a little bit about the shortcomings of GDP as a measure of our economy's performance. Right, our GDP measure doesn't tell us anything about non-market activities. As an example, if I paint my house, or I work in the garden, or I tidy my house, these are all things that add value. Yet they don't lead to any spending or any income. Therefore, they are not captured in GDP. Even though these are activities that add value, they aren't captured in our GDP measure. It also tells us nothing about how much leisure our population has. Leisure is certainly something that we desire and tells us something about our well-being, yet our GDP measure does not capture this. It doesn't tell us anything about whether the products we are buying now are of a better quality than they were before, or potentially even a worse quality. We simply don't know. Any illegal activities are not captured in our GDP measure because these activities are not reported anyway. We have no idea what the value of the drug trade is in South Africa, for example. Technically, drug trade is economic activity. Theoretically, it should be included as part of our economic activity, yet it's not. Therefore, GDP underestimates exactly what's going on in the economy. Of course, it doesn't tell us how well or how badly we are abusing or using our environment. It doesn't tell us who gains from the wealth that is generated from the economic activity in our country. In other words, we might have the biggest economy in the world, but if it only benefits a very small portion of the population, is that desirable? Should we just be wanting to increase GDP even if it means leaving people behind? Interesting questions. GDP tells us nothing about this. Essentially what we're saying therefore is that GDP tells us nothing about the non-economic sources of our well-being. And in that sense, it really is quite a poor performer. So that wraps up our discussion on GDP. Our next video we'll talk more about changes in GDP over time, or growth.